guys, Matt from Irontrap Garage. Today we're doing another little episode on the Sweetheart Roadster. In the last one you saw where I modified all the sub rails to get the trunk area of the sub rails to fit the 32 frame. So now what I need to do is I need to get this thing all bolted down to the frame. So I need to make some body mounts that will keep the body, in the same place every time I take it on and off, so we can continue on with the project. So I'm going to actually start from the back and work my way forward. I'm going to try and use some of the holes or some of the areas where holes were in the original sub rails to mount the body. Whatever we can make work, but we want to use about the same number of mounting points as possible, and hopefully that'll keep it as sturdy as it was originally when it was bolted down. So I'm going to start here in the back. The frame rail starts to curve down here, but right about at these two holes here, about where the crossmember is welded in, there is a hole that goes up through the frame that I left. So I'm going to put, we could put a wood block or spacer underneath the frame here for mounting, kind of like original, and I'm going to run a hole down through the sub rail, and that'll bolt it down in the rear, and we can work our way forward and kind of just figure out each mount as we go. So I'm going to start on getting these two drilled, maybe make some wooden spacers or even something metal just for temporary to get it in there, and then we can keep working our way forward. Okay, so got this bracket just tack welded in place. Figured I'd show you guys before I get in the car and start test fitting it and getting it ready to weld in the car. So what I did is I cut out two side pieces here. I'm going to sand them a little more before it's done, give it a little better of a look around the corners, all that stuff. But then I made a top plate. So what's going to happen is this overhang that's right here, that overhang is going to go underneath of the frame rail on the inside. So it'll slide in like this, if this is the frame rail, and it's going to touch this top leading edge here. It's going to touch on the inside edge of the frame rail. And then I can weld the two of them. I can also weld underneath here and here to the underside of the top of the frame rail, and then also of course we can weld down these backside edges. So that should be nice and strong. I made it out of 1/8" steel, but once it's all welded together and everything, it's going to be more than strong, especially since we're going to have a few of these throughout the car, 3 or 4 of them actually. But this is the kind of the middle supports. So once I get this all fitted and I'm happy with how everything fits on the frame, then we will get it tacked in. We can drill a hole right down the center through the hole that's already in the sub rails through this. And then the way I designed this, it's going to have a little bit gap between the top of this and the sub rail. And what that does is I can make another wood block like it would have had originally, or maybe even reuse our sample, our wood kit that we bought already. Might be able to repurpose that in the sub rail and mount it in here and actually use it again. So I gave a little bit of gap underneath there, so that should help a little bit. The other thing I did is I offset this top plate when I welded it. Offset the top plate here so that it's actually sitting just a little above the side plates, and that's just so that I can slip these underneath of the frame rails, and this part here is going to end up sitting flush. If I would have welded it level, then they'd be all in the same plane, and it would want to slide under the frame rail instead of being flush with it. So that was a little trick that I did there. So I'm going to get this in the car. I'm going to test fit it. I'm going to just touch up this back edge here so I can get it sitting how I want, nice and square. And then once I'm happy with that, I'll probably just turn the MIG on and zap it to the frame rail to get it welded in place. And then we can drill a hole. And once everything's done, all these mounts are kind of welded in place and bolts are through them, then I can take the body off, finish weld all of these, and we should be ready to kind of move forward. So I'm going to get this one fitted and we'll make the rest of them. Okay guys, so I got those the actual metal mounts, brackets welded into the frame. We're always tapped into the frame so we can kind of keep moving forward. So what I wanted to do was kind of continue to use these Model A subframe and kind of mount the body sort of similar how it would have been on the A frame. So I'm trying to utilize the channels that are in there and do it that way. So what I did is I grabbed the wood kit that we used in the first couple episodes to get the body all squared up and on the original frame, And it's cheap enough that I don't mind sacrificing. It's nice wood. It's already cut basically to size. The original ones that would have went in the position where we welded this mount are these guys right here. Now width-wise, they fit real nice up inside of these channels. But the problem is there was some steps that were cut into these so that they fit over the Model A frame and around it correctly. So although they do fit and I could put a bolt through them, because of that the block doesn't sit even, and I really can't use it without it making it cocked kind of, or pulling everything too much. So what I did is I took, these are the rear pieces that would have sat on top of the rear part of the frame in the back, on either side, just about at the rear cross member on a Model A frame. They're pretty straight. It just has one hole drilled in the center. Now this piece, when you turn it on the side like this to put inside of the channel, is almost it's almost the right width to fit inside of the channels. So what I had to do was just take my sander and sand one of the edges down just a little bit and round it, and it actually fit right up inside of there. Then what I did is I cut a couple pieces down like this that are short little blocks, and I drilled holes through the center of them so that we can now fit those inside. So I'll show you guys how this fits up in here. We'll just grab another angle and show you that. Alright, so here's my block, and I'll show you guys how it fits up in this particular side. It's the same on both sides here, but we'll show you this side. So piece fits up in this channel, nice and snug. Now we can do is slide it forward and line up the hole with the one that we already drilled. Run the piece through. And let's go find our hole here. That, and just a little tight, so I'm probably going to open up the hole on the wood just a little bit more so that it's not such a precise fit. It does fit, but I kind of had to push through there pretty hard with the piece, so I'm going to open it up a little bit. But now everything's tight there on the wood block, fits in there like stock, and get a nice fit just like it would have been stock. So that's the way I'm going to do this one, and now we can put the other side in, and we can move forward to the front mounts, and we're just about there. Okay guys, so moving up to the front here, we're going to mess with these front two holes that we already drilled and made fit these the front blocks here. Now the problem with those, trying to use those original blocks in this area, is with the way the frame is, it actually kind of sits half on, half off the frame here. And the block's a little tall, it's tough to fit in there, and it wasn't really working how I wanted. So what I did is I took one of these thinner ones, like we were talking about, that would have been used back a little further, that have the stupid little steps in them, and I sanded the steps off, and I cut these down so that they were a smaller size. And what I had to do was just taper the long edge here on one side just to match what's going on in the sub rails here. And what that does, it allows it to sit up in the sub rail nice and tight, and also partially on the frame. So this is what we're left with. I drilled the extra holes in there, and I put a little taper on it with the sander to get it to fit up in. So what this does, it allows it to be about half of it's on the frame, sitting on the frame, and half of it's just hanging off. So what I'm going to do is make a little tab, like an extension if you will, out of the same thickness metal, 1/8 inch, to weld onto the frame just in that area. And then we can drill holes down through. We already have these two holes, we have these two right here. So we're going to drill right down through those, through the plate that we welded on, and then we'll be able to bolt these down, and that'll be tight to the frame, and get us mounted in let's see, 8 places with these 4 bolts on either side in the front here, and that should be pretty good for getting it situated for now. And then the last two up front, I want to do once I get the engine mounted in, just to make sure that there's nothing that's interfering with the exhaust or the engine that I may have to, the front feet may have to knock them off or change or modify them. But getting these mounted in, we'll get the body mounted and solid, and then we can kind of move forward. So let me show you how we make this piece here, and show you how to get it mounted up. Alright, well, after a day full of working in the shop on a Sunday, I got all the body mounts made for the Sweetheart Roadster that we need right now. So, just to recap, the front two mounts that are right here in the center of the cowl, all I had to do was add a little plate extension onto the frame, put a wood block that's half on, half off of the frame, and would be centered on that extension. Drilled the holes through the blocks I modified, and that one's good. The one in the center was the hardest one. I had to build an actual bracket that came from inside the frame around and kind of attached to the top, because since it stuck out a little further from the frame, I couldn't just add a little extension. I actually made a mount that fit in there, and that should be good. Again, modified some blocks, slid it under the sub rails, drilled the hole, put it through. That's tightened down. In the rear was super easy. I just found a hole that was right in front of the rear crossmember and drilled a hole through the sub rails, and it matched up with those holes in the frame. And then I just modified a block, slid it underneath, and we're good to go. So now we have all of those in there. The body is really solid on here, even with all the bolts being hand tight, and we're pretty much good to move on to the next part of the project. So from here, what we're going to do is take the body back off. I got a spare 42 to 48 Ford frame that has the center X-shaped cross member. We're going to be putting that into this frame. So we're going to show you next time how to cut that out, get that fit into this frame, and hopefully weld it in, and then we're really going to be kicking ass on this project. So thanks guys for watching. As always, we do videos on Fridays on the Sweetheart Roadster. Sometimes on Tuesdays we put out videos of other stuff I have going on in the shop, or just adventures that I've been having in rusty old junk. So thanks guys for watching. Catch you later.